Bake Bread. This is a free app to help you bake wonderful bread for yourself, for your family and friends. But before diving in to see how it may help you, let me just mention that Just Bake Bread is a totally free app. We do not ask for your name, nor do we ask for your email. There is no registration or no subscription required. The future development of Just Bake Bread is made through a series of Amazon affiliate links in our shopping area. These are product links to items and products and ingredients in the Amazon site, which we believe are useful for the home baker. And if you click on one of those links and purchase an item, we receive a small commission for that. It does not affect your pricing in any way whatsoever. In fact, the relationship when you purchase is strictly between you and Amazon. We do not know what you purchased. All we know is something has been purchased. But we do appreciate your support in that area. Also, I'd like to mention at the bottom of the screen there is a navigation toolbar. The left-hand icon, the home icon, brings you back to this opening and main screen, so you'll never be lost within the app. The help gives you some useful reference information that's useful for a home baker. Guide is there so that if you look at this app and you are brand new to home bread baking and feel a bit unsure what to do or feel a bit intimidated by it, that takes you a simple tutorial for baking home bread. And in fact, if you are new to this area, I'd recommend using that a few times to get your comfort level up before working with the main program. Shopping are the Amazon affiliate product links I talked to you about before. So again, we appreciate any support in that area. And legal describes those affiliate links in more detail, privacy, how we handle privacy, and copyright information about Just Bake Bread as an app. Okay, let's dive in. What we've tried to do with Just Bake Bread is get a sweet spot combination between you can make choices about the type of bread you want, the sort of crust you want, and what type of inner or crumb section do you want, what type of baking container. And we've tried to combine those simple choices with a lot of rules behind the scenes that professional bakers use that will give you a good result. Now, when you first come into Just Bake Bread, it's already preset in choices to be produced for you to produce a classic sandwich loaf bread same day. So you could start in the morning around 8 a.m. and have bread by mid-afternoon. Now, it doesn't mean you work all the time. This style of baking, which is called no-knead baking, means very little work on your behalf. And not only does it mean little work on your behalf, it's a very forgiving style of baking. You may have heard lots of stories about if you get this little bit wrong, that little bit wrong, it can be terrible or very hard work. That's not so true of no-knead baking. Now, the way it works, we have a series of choices and you just work your way down the screen. We have a menu system too, which I'll show you shortly. In the top left-hand screen, you'll see some bars there, which allow you to jump to different sections. But basically, you can scroll downwards, making choices, and it creates a custom recipe for you. So let's go down to it now. I'll go down with the selections, and we'll see what we start with. The first thing it shows you, and I'll just show this here, is what you've chosen. Because there's nothing worse, you go to a menu or go to the recipe and you've forgotten your choices. Okay. Now we're in the recipe itself. We have the ingredients. The ingredients are by weight in grams, but also we've included cup or spoon equivalents. That's the international setting for cups and spoons. So for Australian bakers, just be a little bit aware that the Australian sizes can be a little bit different. The way I tend to work is I use weights when it comes to the larger items, and here we're talking of flour and water. When it comes to the smaller items, which is salt and yeast, I use teaspoons. Then comes the various baking instructions. Now, these instructions are almost a summary. They give you the highlights, remembering the most important things, but they don't want to overwhelm you with lots of information. If you're wanting a little bit more help on each step, we can go down further, just through these, and you'll notice you've got these recipe overview, enhancements, recipe tutorial, technical matters. Recipe overview jumps into a little bit more detail about the recipe, and recipe tutorial converts it to a much more tutorial style, if that's what you want. Okay, so one of the things you'll find about this style of baking, which I think really makes it good from a practical point of view, because I bake typically 3 or 4 times a week, is it's exactly the same process. Whether you want a sandwich a loaf, or whether you want a crusty, more artisan style. Okay, let's go back to the top itself now. Now we've looked at that, and look at some of the options. I don't have time here to cover all the options. Is to give you a feel. It then automatically generates the new recipe. So right now we're set for medium size. This is a typical family loaf. Let's say I want something a little bit smaller. We've called it batard size, but in fact it's 600 grams of dough. So everything's based on dough size. In our help section, we do have some detail there about container sizes and dough sizes, which you may find useful. So let's say we choose a smaller amount, and you notice how the colors change. Let's say instead of white bread, strictly bread flour or baker's flour, let's have 20% of it wholemeal. So this says 80% will be bread flour and 20% will be wholemeal. That will give it a slightly different texture, different taste. We'll make one other change. We'll come down here. And let's say that instead of having, we'll come back to the crust. Instead of having a soft and tender crust, let's make that a thick and crunchy crust. So what we're asking for here is still a rather nice, tight, even crumb with a crunchy surface. And we'll come down here, and our recipe selection reflects that. We've now got a wholemeal there. You wouldn't have noticed this, but the hydration's dropped a little bit, which it does with wholemeal. And we've got different crumb and crust settings. So the recipe's now changed. I do want to spend and there's the various containers, by the way. A Dutch oven is something that's quite recommended, so I'll choose Dutch oven. You can choose whether you want to add some olive oil. That offers a lovely softness and also gives you a little bit longer shelf life with homemade bread. And you can also add a sweetener. But I want to talk about a pre-ferment. The baking as we've now seen it is just, you start perhaps in the morning, and if it's a slow bake, it could be a few days, a medium bake, same day, and so on. One of the very simple ways to add a lot of flavor, and this is probably addressed to people who have baked before or may be familiar with this, is the use of pre-ferments, which is you allocate a small amount of flour and water and maybe yeast and do that earlier, let that ferment, and then combine it with the rest of the products. And that, for a lot of people who do that, you've got to work out your calculations, amount of flour, amount of water. This program will do that for you. Suffice to use the poolish, which is one of the most popular. Typically we do that the night before. We come down to ingredients, and now you see you have your poolish ingredients, which is roughly about 100 grams. You do that typically the night before, leave it to rest, and then the next day combine it with the remainder of the wheat, of the flour. In this case, we've got white flour, wholemeal, water. So it's done all the calculations for you. And I guarantee you'll end up with a wonderful result. So that's our program. Let me remind you again, it's totally free. We're very proud of this one. This is my go-to program for my own baking that gets, to be honest, rave reviews. I not only do it for my family, I also give it as gifts to friends and neighbours. And it consistently produces high quality bread that you can be very proud of. So again, thank you for your time. It's a free app. We do not ask for your details. And I hope it becomes a very good companion for your home bread baking. So again, thank you for your time. I appreciate that.